Chosen one, August 4th is not a date to fear or a promise to force. It is a marker that invites you to look again at the place where you assumed nothing was happening. You have been listening for a loud answer, a sudden sign, or a door that opens with no resistance. Yet today, the Lord calls you away from the noise that has exhausted your heart. Be still, not because your story has ended, but because God is teaching you to recognize His work before you can see its outcome. Silence is not proof that you were forgotten. It can become the sacred space where fear loses its authority and faith begins to breathe again. If this season has left you wondering what your waiting is forming, the ebook name was created to help you discern the season, hear direction without panic, and respond with practical faith. It will help you name what is happening within you instead of calling every delay defeat. You can find your copy through the pinned comment. Do not rush past the quiet just because it feels unfamiliar. God can meet you there with a peace that does not depend on visible proof. There are seasons when everything around you seems to demand an immediate reaction. Messages arrive, responsibilities multiply, expectations rise, and your own thoughts begin speaking louder than wisdom. You may feel pressured to explain yourself, defend your path, predict the future, or make a decision before your spirit has rested. But not every urgent voice carries divine instruction. Some voices are only fear wearing the clothes of responsibility. Some demands are merely distractions, trying to pull you out of the place where God is strengthening you. The Lord does not always lead you through thunder. Sometimes He leads you by giving you the courage to stop reaching for control. He teaches you that silence can be obedience when it is rooted in trust. You do not have to answer every accusation. You do not have to prove every calling. You do not have to chase every opportunity that passes in front of you. What belongs to you will not require you to abandon peace in order to keep it. Be still does not mean become passive, careless, or detached from your responsibilities. It means refuse to let anxiety become your guide. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zurzazuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment. It means place your next step beneath God's wisdom rather than beneath your fear. You can still work faithfully, love deeply, prepare wisely, and show up with integrity, but you no longer have to carry the burden of making everything happen by yourself. The God who gave you the assignment also understands every part of the road ahead. He sees the people you cannot reach, the details you cannot arrange, and the doors you cannot open with your own strength. Your task is not to become the author of every outcome. Your task is to remain available, humble, and obedient. When you stop trying to control the entire horizon, you begin to notice the light God has already placed at your feet. That light may seem small today, but it is enough for the next faithful step. Perhaps the silence feels difficult because you have been wounded by waiting before. You remember prayers that seemed unanswered, hopes that did not unfold as expected, and people who left when you needed them most. So when heaven feels quiet, your heart may interpret it through the language of old pain. You may assume silence means rejection because rejection once came without explanation. You may assume delay means loss because something precious slipped away in a previous season. But God is not asking you to deny what hurt you. He is inviting you to stop allowing that hurt to define His character. He is patient with the parts of you that still tremble. He does not shame you for needing reassurance. He calls you closer, reminding you that His presence is not measured by the volume of your circumstances. Even when you cannot trace His hand, you can bring Him your honest heart. That honesty becomes the beginning of renewed trust. Today, do not confuse a hidden process with an empty process. Seeds beneath the soil are not dead because the field looks still. Roots deepen where no one applauds them, and strength forms long before fruit becomes visible. In the same way, God may be building patience, wisdom, discernment, or courage in you while you wait for a change outside of you. He may be protecting you from a premature answer that would have placed too much weight on an unprepared heart. He may be untangling matters you cannot see and restoring your ability to receive what is good without fear. If you need a clearer way to recognize what God may be shaping through this season, ebook Name offers a guided path for reflection, prayer, and faithful next steps. It is not about chasing dramatic predictions. It is about learning to meet your present season with clarity and trust. You can access it through the pinned comment. Let your waiting become a place of formation rather than a courtroom where you accuse yourself for not moving fast enough. God is still able to work in what looks quiet. There is a difference between silence that comes from surrender and silence that comes from fear. Fear makes you silent because you feel powerless, ashamed, or certain that your voice does not matter. Surrender makes you quiet because you trust God enough to stop fighting battles He never assigned to you. Fear closes your heart. Surrender opens your heart before the Lord. Fear says, nothing will ever change. Surrender says, I do not know how this will change, but I will not abandon God in the middle of it. You may be learning this difference right now. You may be discovering that you can sit in stillness without becoming hopeless. You can pause without quitting. You can release the demand for immediate answers while continuing to believe that your life carries purpose. This is not weakness. This is spiritual strength. It is the strength to wait without building your identity around the thing you are waiting for. The world often celebrates those who move first, speak loudest, and make their own way visible. But God frequently forms His servants in hidden places. Moses spent years in the wilderness before leading a people. David learned faithfulness in fields before carrying a crown. Jesus spent long years in ordinary life before His public ministry began. Hiddenness was not a sign that their lives had lost meaning. It was part of the preparation that made their later obedience possible. Your unnoticed days are not automatically wasted days. The work you do in private matters. The prayers you whisper when no one sees matter. The decision to remain honest when shortcuts look attractive matters. Heaven sees the faithfulness that crowds do not reward. God is not limited by the fact that your progress is not publicly visible. He can use quiet obedience to prepare you for responsibilities you cannot yet imagine. Let Him make your character strong enough to carry what your calling will require. Do not let the quiet make you careless with your inner life. A silent season can reveal what has been hiding beneath constant activity. It can show you where resentment has taken root, where comparison has drained your joy, and where approval has become an idol. This is not exposure meant to humiliate you. It is mercy inviting you into healing. God does not reveal a wound so that you will despise yourself. He reveals it so that you will bring it into His care. You do not need to pretend that you are unaffected. You do not need to decorate pain with religious language. You can say, Lord, this hurts. You can say, Lord, I am afraid. You can say, Lord, I need help to trust you here. A prayer does not need to be polished to be received by God. Sometimes the most honest prayer is simply the decision to remain in His presence when every part of you wants to run. Chosen one, let this be your first sacred response today. Write, "I will be still before God," in the comments as a quiet declaration of trust. Do not write it as a performance for anyone else. Write it as a reminder to your own heart that you are choosing peace over panic. Then take one slow breath and release the need to solve your entire life before the day ends. Your future is not asking you to carry it all at once. God is asking you to walk with Him today. There may be a conversation you need to delay until your heart is calm. There may be a decision you need to place back before God instead of forcing through anxiety. There may be a burden you have carried so long that you no longer remember what freedom feels like. Give it a name in prayer. Let the Lord meet you in that exact place. Stillness becomes powerful when it is practiced, not merely admired. The silence of God does not mean God has stopped speaking forever. Sometimes He is teaching you to hear what noise has covered. You may have become accustomed to looking only for dramatic direction, while God has been guiding you through conviction, scripture, wise counsel, and the steady pull toward what is true. His voice does not compete with chaos in the way fear does. Fear shouts because it wants control. God can speak gently because His authority does not depend on volume. When you make room for quiet, you may begin to notice what He has been repeating for a long time. Forgive. Rest. Tell the truth. Take the next right step. Stop returning to what keeps breaking you. Trust the process. These instructions may not feel spectacular, but they can reshape an entire life. A small act of obedience today can become the doorway to clarity tomorrow. Do not despise the simple direction because it does not look dramatic. You may have asked God to change the situation, while He has been preparing you to stand differently within it. You asked for the storm to stop, but He has been growing stability in your spirit. You asked for the door to open, but He has been teaching you to become ready for what waits beyond it. You asked for people to understand you, but He has been freeing you from needing everyone's approval. This does not mean your prayers are ignored. It means God's answers often reach deeper than the surface request. He sees the destination and the condition of the heart that will arrive there. He loves you too much to give you a blessing that your soul is not yet prepared to steward. If you are ready to turn this quiet season into concrete practices of faith, ebook. Name can help you reflect on your direction, identify the fears shaping your choices, and take a grounded next step. It offers support for the person who wants more than momentary inspiration and needs a faithful way forward. Find it through the pinned comment. You are not stuck simply because you are being prepared. There is no shame in admitting that you are tired. You may be tired of hoping, tired of explaining, tired of waiting for the same prayer to feel different. Bring that exhaustion to God without editing it. He does not require you to arrive strong before He offers strength. He welcomes the weary, the uncertain, and the person who has no beautiful words left. Sometimes faith is not a loud declaration. Sometimes faith is getting up again, making your bed, doing what is right, and trusting God with what you cannot carry. Do not measure your spiritual life only by intense emotions. Measure it also by your willingness to remain connected to God in ordinary moments. A quiet prayer while washing dishes can be faith. Choosing kindness when your heart is sore can be faith. Refusing to surrender to despair can be faith. God sees every small act of trust, and He can build a steady life from what feels like a fragile beginning. You may be tempted to compare your chapter with someone else's visible breakthrough. Their announcement, promotion, relationship, opportunity, or celebration can make your hidden season feel smaller than it is. But comparison is a thief that steals your ability to recognize your own calling. You do not know the full weight another person carries, just as they do not know the sacred work God is doing in you. Your path is not behind because it does not look like theirs. God does not create your story by copying someone else's timeline. He knows what you need to learn, what needs healing, what must mature, and what kind of strength your assignment will demand. When jealousy knocks at your heart, do not let it move in. Bless what God is doing in others, then return to the work He has given you. Your faithfulness will matter more than your speed. Your peace will matter more than your appearance. Your relationship with God will matter more than public recognition. Remember that silence is not the absence of movement. A room can be quiet while a heart is healing. A field can appear empty while roots spread beneath the surface. A life can seem unchanged from the outside while God rearranges desires, restores courage, and rebuilds trust within. You may not have evidence that satisfies every question, but you can watch for evidence of grace. Are you becoming more honest? Are you learning to pause before reacting? Are you beginning to release what once controlled you? Are you able to pray again after a period of numbness? These are not small changes. They are signs that God is at work in the deeper places of your life. Do not dismiss internal growth simply because it cannot be photographed or announced. Some of the holiest progress in your life will happen where only God can see it. Let that be enough for today. Let the quiet become a witness that your heart is learning to rest. Think of your life as a garden at the edge of a new season. From a distance, the soil may look dark, uneven, and empty. You may wonder why the ground has been turned over so many times. Yet the gardener knows that disturbed soil is not ruined soil. It is soil being prepared to receive what could not grow in hard ground. God may be loosening things you once depended on because He wants your heart to become more receptive to what is true. The discomfort does not automatically mean destruction. It may be preparation. The Lord knows where every seed belongs, how deep it must be planted, and when the conditions are right for growth, you do not have to force a harvest in order to prove that the garden is alive. You are invited to remain close to the gardener, trusting his hands even when the season looks unfinished. He has not mistaken your life for abandoned ground. In this garden, silence is like the early morning before the sun reaches every corner. The plants do not rush to prove that they are growing. The roots do not announce their labor beneath the soil. They simply receive what they need: water, nourishment, light, and time. Your soul also needs this kind of care. You cannot keep pouring from a heart that never rests. You cannot keep making wise decisions if you never stop long enough to hear your own conscience before God. The invitation to be still is not punishment. It is nourishment. It is a chance to let the restless parts of you settle into the presence of the one who knows you completely. Today, make room for one small act of spiritual care. Read a passage of Scripture slowly. Sit without reaching for your phone. Walk outside and thank God for one thing that remains good. These simple practices are water for a weary soul. A garden does not become fruitful because someone yells at it to grow faster. It becomes fruitful through consistent care, proper seasons, and the quiet faithfulness of the gardener. You may have been yelling at yourself in ways you would never speak to someone you love. You may call yourself late, weak, foolish, or forgotten because growth is taking longer than you expected. But harshness does not make a wounded heart heal more quickly. God's correction is never meant to crush you. His truth exposes what needs changing, but it also gives you grace to change. Speak to yourself with the honesty and mercy God offers. You can acknowledge what needs to be different without declaring yourself a failure. You can repent without living in condemnation. You can begin again without pretending the past never happened. The gardener is not standing over your life with impatience. He is tending it with wisdom, purpose, and love. Some branches must be pruned before a garden can bear healthier fruit. Pruning can feel like loss because something familiar is removed. A relationship changes, a habit no longer fits, an old dream loses its hold. A pattern of thinking that once protected you is revealed as something that now limits you. You may grieve these changes, and grief does not mean you are resisting God. It means you are human and something mattered to you. But do not assume every ending is proof that your future is being taken away. Sometimes God removes what drains your life so that what is life-giving can grow with greater strength. Ask Him for courage to release what no longer serves His purpose in you. Ask Him for wisdom to distinguish temporary discomfort from a true invitation to let go. The garden cannot hold every branch forever. God knows what must remain, what must be healed, and what must be surrendered. Chosen one, let this be your second sacred response. Place one hand over your heart and whisper, "Lord, tend what is hidden in me." This is not a ritual of superstition. It is a simple way to give your attention back to God when your mind has been scattered by worry. Let the words remind you that hidden places are not beyond His reach. He sees the root of your fear, the source of your anger, and the longing beneath your impatience. You do not need to dig through every memory alone. Invite Him into what you do not yet understand. The gardener knows how to work gently without ignoring what is real. He can bring truth to places you have avoided and peace to places you thought would always ache. Stay with Him in the process. The soil may be turned, but your life is still in loving hands. What God tends with patience can become a place of unexpected beauty. Rain does not always arrive in the form you expected. Sometimes it comes as a conversation that changes your perspective. Sometimes it comes as the strength to say no. Sometimes it comes as a delay that protects you from entering the wrong place too soon. Sometimes it comes as a quiet conviction that guides you away from what would have wounded you. You may have been asking God for a flood of certainty, while He has been sending enough grace for the day. Do not overlook daily grace, because it is not dramatic. The fact that you are still here, still able to pray, still capable of choosing what is right, is evidence that God has not abandoned you. Receive the rain that is already falling. Thank Him for the people who encourage you, the strength that returns after rest, and the wisdom that grows after hardship. Small mercies can become a river when you learn to recognize them. There will be days when the garden seems unchanged, even after you have watered it faithfully. Those days test whether you are serving the outcome or trusting the gardener. It is easy to be faithful when you can see immediate improvement. It is harder to remain faithful when the evidence is hidden, but hidden growth is still growth. The seed does not become faithless because it spends time beneath the earth. It stays where it was planted and receives what it needs. In the same way, you can remain present in your calling without demanding that every day prove its value. Keep learning, keep praying, keep doing the good that is in front of you. Keep honoring God with the resources, relationships, and responsibilities already entrusted to you. The harvest is not produced by one emotional moment. It is formed through many ordinary days of faithful care. Let God teach you how to honor the process. Weeds can grow beside good seeds, and not every thought that rises in your mind deserves a place in your heart. Some thoughts tell you that you will always be alone. Some insist that you missed your chance. Some replay every mistake until shame feels like truth. These are weeds that compete for the nourishment of your attention. You do not remove them by pretending they are not there. You remove them by bringing them into the light of God's truth. When a fearful thought arrives, ask whether it leads you toward faith, humility, and wise action, or toward panic, condemnation, and isolation. You do not have to agree with every voice inside your mind. You can replace a lie with truth. You can say, "I am still being led." You can say, "My past does not own my future." You can say, "God is present with me in this moment." These truths are not empty slogans. They are anchors for a heart learning to remain rooted. The gardener also knows when a plant needs support. A young branch can bend under the weight of its own growth, and needing support is not a sign of failure. You were never created to carry every burden in isolation. God may strengthen you through a trusted friend, a wise pastor, a counselor, a family member, or a community that can pray with you and speak truth when you have lost perspective. Reaching for healthy support does not mean you lack faith. It may be one of the ways faith becomes active. Be careful not to hide your pain behind the appearance of strength. There is courage in saying that you need help. There is wisdom in allowing someone trustworthy to walk beside you. The Lord can use a caring voice to remind you of what anxiety has made you forget. You are still responsible for your choices, but you do not have to make them in a prison of loneliness. Let God show you who is safe to trust. As the garden receives care, it begins to reveal life in places that once looked bare. A tiny leaf appears, a stem becomes stronger. What seemed impossible begins through something small enough to be missed. That is often how hope returns. It may not arrive as a dramatic transformation. It may begin as one peaceful morning, one honest conversation, one boundary, one renewed desire to pray, or one decision not to return to what broke you. Do not insult small beginnings. God often places new life in forms that require attention and patience. Protect what He is growing in you. Do not expose every fresh work in your heart to people who only know how to mock, rush, or misunderstand. Let it take root. Let your new discipline become steady. Let your healing become real before it becomes public. You do not need to announce every step for it to be meaningful. The gardener sees the first leaf, and he knows what it will become. The garden metaphor reminds you that you are not your own savior. You can prepare the soil of your attention, pull weeds of harmful thinking, and receive the water of grace, but you cannot command life into existence. Growth remains a gift. This truth should not make you helpless. It should make you humble and free. You are free from the pressure to manufacture what only God can give. You are free to do your part without carrying God's part. You are free to trust that the one who began a good work in you understands how to complete it. Your responsibility is faithfulness. God's responsibility is fruitfulness in His wisdom and timing. So stop measuring your worth by what has not appeared yet. Stop calling the garden barren when God is still tending it. The silence around you may be the sound of roots going deeper. The stillness may be preparing you to receive more than you could have carried before. Now step outside the garden of your private thoughts and look at your daily life with new eyes. The Lord may be asking you to practice stillness in a specific situation. Perhaps you need to stop defending yourself before someone determined to misunderstand you. Perhaps you need to wait before sending a message shaped by anger. Perhaps you need to stop making a major decision while fear is driving the conversation in your mind. Perhaps you need to rest before you can recognize what wisdom is saying. Stillness is not avoidance when it creates space for truth. Silence is not defeat when it keeps you from creating damage you will later regret. Ask God to show you where your words have become a shield for anxiety. Ask Him to show you where your quick reactions have kept you from hearing His direction. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you. And strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.